This is the dad from MichaelShepard.net, coming to you from RCS Sports, Parents and Coaches Recruiting Workshop 2007 in Houston, Texas. The only workshop of its kind in the United States of America. In this video, we feature the incomparable George Raveling in the address that every parent and every player must take heed to. We call it the serious business of career planning. So let's get to it!
Meanwhile, as we welcome, let me tell you something. Man, speakers, this next speaker is definitely one of the all-time greatest. His messages are powerful, and really, he called me, asked me, said, man, what do you want me to talk about? I was like, Coach. He spoke at the very first workshop that we had 6 years ago. And he doesn't need a topic to talk about because there's so much for him to deliver to you guys in regard to the basketball. There are a lot of intangibles. He's seen it all. He's basically, many of your kids play summer ball, and you know, he runs, he's over all the worldwide basketball pretty much, and of course Nike. 2 years ago, for the most part, he was in grassroots basketball, which is what is called down here at the high school level and the sub-amateur level. And so, man, I'm just going to step to the side and welcome him and give you the opportunity to experience one of the greatest. Man, Muhammad Ali needs to step aside because we got right now, we got Coach George Raveling in the house, and he's going to deliver this to you guys. You welcome Coach George Raveling. Nice.
No. Put the box. Send it. Here, chest. Here, left side.
Okay. Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank Jimmy for affording me an opportunity to come and to participate in this very important gathering. And second, to assure you that it's an extreme pleasure to be here. I listened to Jimmy's remarks about me, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of a funeral service. The dad had died, and the preacher was going on and on and on about what a virtuous guy he was and how much he meant to the community and that. And he went on bragging on the dad. And the mom nudged the kid and she said, son, go up there, look in the casket and see if that's your dad up there, because I don't recognize that by that description. And so you can't believe everything that Jimmy says. But I kind of like to go in a little different, at this recruiting from a little different vantage standpoint. I coached for 31 years. I'm a lot older than you think I am. And so I've transcended 4 or 5 generations of college basketball. And maybe a good way to start off is, what I want to say is to tell you about a circumstance that happened to me when as Jimmy mentioned, I work at Nike. I'm the global director of basketball for Nike, so I basically direct all of their basketball operations all over the world. And a number of years ago, I got a call from one of our vice presidents, and he said, what are you doing this evening? And I said, well, nothing special. He said, would you want to come to a dinner this evening? And I said, what's it about? And he said, well, we've got this kid, young golfer named Tiger Woods, and his dad are coming up to campus, and we're trying to sign him to an endorsement contract, and I'm going to be as candid with you as I can. And he said, we need a few more black people at the dinner. So would you come? And I said, yeah. So I sat down at the end of the table with his dad. His dad's one of the most fascinating people I've ever encountered in my life. But the one thing I remember from that evening's conversation was, I asked him, I said, Earl, how did he end up at Stanford? And he said, George, when he was 9 years old, we were sitting at the dinner table one night, and I said to him, I said, son, where do you want to go to college when you grow up? And he said, Stanford. And he said, why Stanford? He said, because they have a good golf program. It's one of the best academic schools in America. And that's where I want to go to school. I lived in California at the time. And so he said, okay. So 2 nights later, he asked him again at dinner, and he said the same thing. And so he said, okay, so what we have to do, if you really want to do that, we have to start right now. Keep in mind, he was 9 years old. He said, we have to start right now to prepare yourself to be qualified to go to Stanford. You know that they're going to have unusually high academic requirements. You're going to have to be a world-class golfer. And are you willing to do all those things to get into Stanford? And he said, absolutely. I'll do whatever I have to do academically and golf-wise to make it. And so, where am I going with that story? See, I think today we're in a totally different recruiting environment. We're in a totally different cultural environment. And I don't think it's enough to just grapple with trying to decide where should I send my child to college, or if my child's going to get a scholarship. I really believe today it all starts with the career plan. If it were my child, and I have 2 of them, and they're both 35 years old, they're both work at Nike, I think what you should do now is start to not necessarily prepare the child to get an athletic scholarship. You should be preparing the child to get a scholarship in life. And I think it's very short-sighted. I think it's a very narrow focus if you're not helping your child prepare a game plan for his life. So you help him get to college and gets a scholarship. That's the side of the mountain, it's not the top of the mountain. Your responsibility as a parent is to prepare that child for a career in life. And then one day that basketball's going to stop bouncing, or that football's going to stop being passed, or that baseball's not going to be struck. And then you're faced about 45 or 50 more years of life, and what is that? What have you prepared that child to do? And so I think long before you decide what school the child should go to, you and the child should decide what it is that he or she wants to do with their life. You need to have some serious discussions that go far beyond athletic fields and courts and diamonds. You need to have some discussions about what it is that they're going to do with their life. Because if all they're going to contribute to life is playing a sport, I think it's a sorry existence. I'm just, to be honest with you, I think that there's a variety of things that each of us can do if we're challenged to do. And so the first thing that I say to you is that you need to help your child have a game plan for their life, a career plan. It's got some goals, it's got some visions, it's got a strategy to it. That's if you want them to be winners in the biggest game that they're ever going to participate in, the game of life. Now, it's not overly important to win basketball or football games, but it's damn important to win in the game of life. It's the only one you're going to have. It's the only chance you're going to have. And as parents, you have to take that responsibility seriously to help that child be the best possible person that they can be. Not necessarily the best possible athlete that they can be, but the best possible person that they can be. That's your responsibility. When you conceived that child, you took on that responsibility. And when you narrow this down to athletics, it's a narrow focus, it's a shallow focus, it's about more than athletics, it's about life. And so you've got to have career goals for them. And if that child doesn't have goals and you don't have goals for that child, then I say to you, if you don't know where you're going in life, then how are you going to know when you get there?